are entertainers, and you have a job to do, and I respect it, right? And I'm a competitor, so I have a job to do as well. And I think, just understanding that, that's how I've lived by, and I've said that multiple times, so definitely not a new quote, but something that...
What happens when you insult the face of college football on live TV? You go viral. For all the wrong reasons. Dillon Gabriel, freshly drafted and full of ambition, decided to try his hand at throwing verbal passes before throwing touchdowns. In the middle of a sideline interview, he dropped a line so subtle and yet so explosively interpreted that it flipped the internet upside down. He said, "There are entertainers and there are competitors. I'm here to compete." Innocent? Maybe. Intentional? You tell us. Because the second that sentence left his lips, fans weren't just reacting, they were detonating. Memes flew, tweets fired off like confetti at a pep rally, and Gabriel, once a respected QB prospect, was suddenly the main act in a digital roast session. And the craziest part? The guy he seemingly threw shade at, Shedeur Sanders, didn't say a single word in response. He didn't have to. The internet did it for him.
It's just part of it. There's entertainers and there's competitors. And I totally understand that. And my job is to compete. And that's what I'm focused on doing. Of course, we're doing this big game, but it's something that I'll get used to, and just want to be the best team that I can and create an environment where we can all go do our best work. That's what we want to do. It's just part of it. There's entertainers and there's competitors.
So what started as a throwaway comment became a masterclass in how not to spark a rivalry with one of football's most protected superstars. This wasn't just a misstep. It was a public relations fumble so bad it deserves its own highlight reel. Before this viral storm kicked off, Dillon Gabriel was just where any young quarterback wants to be, on the radar. A solid college career, flashes of on-field brilliance, and a third-round selection in the NFL draft. He wasn't a household name, but he was known. Quiet confidence, determined work ethic, the kind of guy coaches like and reporters respect.
Interesting comments. He said, there are entertainers and there are competitors, and my job is to compete. Right. He tried to clarify later at the presser saying he meant the media are the entertainers and a competitor, and he's a competitor, and he wasn't taking a shot at Shedeur, but the damage was done. Everybody knows what he meant by, because you know why? I'm gonna let you take off. You remember at Oregon, what the head coach said when they played Colorado?
Right.
Who was the quarterback?
Yeah.
Who was the quarterback?
Then there's Shedeur Sanders. He's not just a quarterback, he's a movement. The son of Deion Primetime Sanders, Shedeur inherited both talent and that unshakable spotlight. He dominates the field with NFL-ready poise, racks up 300-yard games like it's nothing, and plays with a swagger that turns highlight reels into full-on media events. He's box office, he's business, and his fan base? Loud, loyal, and lethal when provoked. So when Dillon Gabriel even seemed to take a shot, no matter how minor, no matter the intent, he didn't just mess with a player. He challenged an empire. Two quarterbacks, two different trajectories. One already branded like an icon, the other still building. And in this moment, a simple sentence would pull them both into the kind of spotlight you can't turn off.
Bah! If I'm Shedeur, I'm like, duck. Direct shot at Shedeur. And I don't know Dillon Gabriel, but I know the dynamics in which he's dealing with. I've told you guys countless times how many teammates I've had, and whether it was me in that position or other teammates, where you had a love-hate relationship.
It was supposed to be a routine sideline interview. Standard, forgettable, over in 30 seconds. But instead, Dillon Gabriel gave us the spark that lit Twitter, TikTok, and sports radio on fire. There are entertainers and there are competitors. I'm here to compete. Just 8 words, spoken calmly. But in today's sports media ecosystem, that wasn't a quote. It was a grenade. Why? Because to millions of fans watching, there was no question who he meant by entertainer. Shedeur Sanders, The same QB known for flashing his wrist to show off a diamond-encrusted watch after touchdowns. The same player who's constantly trending for both his game and his game day drip. In Gabriel's world, it may have been a harmless answer, but the timing, the tone, and everything about the stage he said it on, national television, made it feel personal. It came off less like a statement about mindset and more like a passive-aggressive jab at Sanders's.
Gabriel said there's entertainers, there's competitors, we're entertainers, we're journalists. But what he said, I guess you could sort of, what do you think about that? What's your reaction to his comments there?
Well, I was watching this game live, and I watched that interview live, and I watched what he said. Now, here I am coloring in all of the context for you guys. When he was being interviewed, you could tell he was nervous and kind of didn't want to be there. He was kind of want to get back to the sideline and watch the game. And so that question followed up when he was given shorter answers. So when he said that, I felt like he was directly talking to Aditi Kingabwala and saying, you guys are entertainers.
And just like that, Gabriel went from backup QB to internet combatant number one. Because when you even hint at discrediting one of college football's biggest stars, you're not spitting facts. You're inviting war. It didn't take long. In fact, it took minutes. As soon as Dillon Gabriel's clip hit the airwaves, social media exploded like someone dropped gasoline on a bonfire. X, formerly Twitter, turned into a full-blown investigation site. Shedeur's fan base, known for being part Hype Squad, part FBI task force, pulled up the footage in 4K, analyzed every pause, every blink, every syllable. To them, it wasn't subtle. It was calculated. Then came the memes. Oh, the memes. Side-by-sides of Gabriel's passing stats next to Shedeur's watch. Clips of comedians bombing on open mic night with Dillon's face photoshopped on. One fan dubbed him Discount Johnny Manziel without the flair. His GIF reactions were downloaded so fast, you'd think they were NFTs in 2021.
Here's a litmus test. You ever been on a team? Go grab that team photo. Right now, how many of those guys can you name? Go. Not all of them, for sure. 50%, most people can't. It's because we're not all connected, even though we're all a part of the same thing. So Dillon Gabriel is connected to the Cleveland Browns because he got drafted 3rd round, excited for his opportunity and trying to make the squad. Hours later, they draft another guy who has now taken not only Cleveland, but the whole football world by storm. And now, every time Dillon Gabriel hears his name, he hears Shedeur.
And Shedeur? Silent. Didn't post, didn't comment, didn't blink. Which only made things worse for Dillon, because the lack of a clapback gave fans even more oxygen. Gabriel wasn't trending for touchdowns or tape. He was trending as the punchline. One line, dozens of interpretations, and a quarterback now permanently bookmarked on the internet's hit list. Gabriel thought he was drawing a line between himself and the noise. Instead, he became the noise. As the internet spiral gained momentum, Dillon Gabriel realized something. This wasn't blowing over. It was blowing up. So he tried to walk it back. In a follow-up press conference, he claimed the real entertainers were the media, not Shedeur. According to him, the context was all about staying focused through the noise. Even seasoned analysts weren't buying the backpedal. Gabriel spoke like a guy who just read the group chat and realized he messed up, not like someone confidently clarifying a misunderstood point. The nervous body language, the jittery tone, the recycled phrasing, it felt more like spin than sincerity. And to make it worse, people immediately pointed out the deja vu. There are entertainers and there are competitors. Sounded almost exactly like what Oregon's coach said about Colorado before handing them a blowout loss. So whether Dillon meant it or not, he borrowed a phrase from a playbook that already carried disrespect in bold print. In the court of public opinion, the moment to explain passed the second he said it. He wasn't clearing things up. He was just fanning flames. Now let's be clear. Dillon Gabriel didn't just slip up. He accidentally launched a personal PR crisis right in the middle of his NFL debut season. See, in football, what you say matters almost as much as what you do on the field. Coaches and scouts study everything. They're not just looking at arm strength or scoreboard stats. They're watching leadership, presence, locker room chemistry. So when Dillon veered off course and shifted the spotlight onto himself for all the wrong reasons, he wasn't just trending. He was being watched. Imagine being his coach. You spend weeks preaching focus, unity, humility. And your quarterback hops on live TV, throws a casual firecracker toward one of the most defended names in the sport, then spends the next 72 hours slipping on banana peels during interviews. Now, the conversations around Gabriel aren't about his throwing mechanics or field vision. They're about tone, attitude, ego, and whether he can lead without drama. That stuff sticks, especially when your name is now forever linked to the sentence. Worse, he wasn't even the guy under the bigger spotlight. Shedeur was, and still is, which means Dillon unintentionally turned himself into the other guy, the one who took a shot at the star and missed publicly. In one moment, he went from underdog with potential to the latest what not to do in football media training. This wasn't just about one comment. It was about who the comment seemed aimed at. Because if there's one golden rule in modern college football, it's this: you don't mess with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur isn't just another college QB. He's a brand, a name, a movement. He's playing in Deion Sanders' shadow and somehow still shining brighter. Everything he does, from flexing his watch after a touchdown to casually tossing 350 yards and a half, gets broadcast, dissected, and turned into viral gold. And here's the real kicker. He never has to raise his voice. Shedeur's most powerful weapon might not be his arm, but his silence. When Dillon Gabriel's quote hit the airwaves, Shedeur said absolutely nothing. No tweets, no interviews, not even a smirk. And that drove the internet wild. Because when you come at Sanders and he doesn't even recognize it, it looks less like a rivalry and more like disrespect bouncing off bulletproof confidence. And for fans, that silence is the clapback. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's lethal. Everyone who's come at Shedeur, directly or indirectly, ends up learning the same lesson. He doesn't fight back. He doesn't need to. That's what millions of fans, meme accounts, and analysts are for. Dillon poked the bear, but this bear doesn't growl. It upgrades its draft stock while you're getting cooked in HD. This wasn't just a viral moment. It was a warning shot to every athlete with a mic in their face. Say less, smile more, and never, ever throw shade at a superstar during a broadcast watched by millions. Dillon Gabriel didn't just hurt his image. He created a ripple effect that stretched way beyond a sideline interview. Now, his name is tangled up in every future press conference. Every camera that pans to him isn't looking for leadership. It's looking for awkward glances and PR recovery. And over in Sandersville, the stock just keeps climbing. Shedeur's silence became a weapon, a rallying cry, a strategy. While Dillon's team is out drafting apology statements and scheduling controlled interviews with safe reporters, Shedeur is back on the field dropping dimes and selling jerseys. The contrast is brutal. One QB is becoming a cultural icon. The other is becoming a TikTok soundbite. And here's where it turns from a joke to a real problem. NFL scouts are watching this. Not just playbooks, but presence. You think they want to hand over an offense to a guy who triggered a media meltdown before his rookie season even started? Coaches want winners, not walking headlines. Dillon lit the match thinking no one would notice. Instead, he started a blaze that redefined how people see him, not as the quarterback of a franchise, but as the guy who dared to test the internet's favorite son and lost. By now, Dillon Gabriel knows what most athletes eventually learn the hard way. In this era, it's not just what you do on the field that defines you. It's what you say when the lights are brightest, and who's listening when you say it. He thought he was drawing a line, something simple, maybe even insightful. But instead, he stepped on a landmine and watched the internet detonate it in real time. The memes haven't stopped. His quote is now audio clipped into TikToks. His face is photoshopped into football fails, Comedy Central skits, and even deep-fried thumbnails of how not to get drafted. Entire Reddit threads were created just to document the downfall. It's no longer sports commentary, it's pop culture. And Shedeur still winning, still quiet, still headlining every segment without saying a word. That silence, it speaks volumes. Because true stars don't chase attention, they attract it effortlessly. Dillon Gabriel didn't just challenge a quarterback, he challenged a symbol. He stepped into a fight that didn't need to happen, thinking he was proving something. But all he proved is just how powerful the Shedeur Sanders effect really is. This wasn't a back and forth. This was a one-way demolition. Gabriel played himself into being a cautionary tale, not for how he played football, but for how he forgot that words matter just as much as wins. In football, every second counts, on the clock, on the field, and yes, in front of a microphone. Dillon Gabriel didn't throw a pick six or fumble a snap. He made one comment, 8 words, and in that moment, he fumbled something far more fragile, perception. And once the internet grabs hold of your image, it doesn't let go. It remixes it, roasts it, replays it on loop. We live in a world where silence can say more than any statement, and Shedeur Sanders mastered that art. He didn't need a tweet, a press conference, or a quote of his own, because when you're already the headline, the clicks and cameras come naturally. Dillon Gabriel learned that star power doesn't just illuminate the field. It casts a long, unforgiving shadow. And if you step into it uninvited, you better be ready to deal with the heat. So what's the real takeaway? Maybe it's this. The difference between being remembered and being respected isn't talent. It's timing, tone, and knowing which battles aren't worth picking. Especially when the person you're subtly calling an entertainer has the entire sports world ready to ride for them. Dillon wanted to compete. He ended up getting cooked. And that's a lesson every young athlete better take notes on before they find themselves drafted into their own meme saga.